Hello there! Today I'm talking about an old movie adaptation of a book I reviewed a while ago, My Cousin Rachel. It was my intention to see this sooner, but there were more holds on a 65-year-old movie at the library than I would have expected. I've been waiting for months. My Cousin Rachel is a 1952 film directed by Henry Coster and adapted by Nunnally Johnson from a novel of the same name by Daphne du Maurier, starring Richard Burton as Philip Ashley, a reclusive young man who believes his adored cousin and guardian Ambrose has been murdered by his new wife in Italy. But though Philip intends to confront his new cousin Rachel, played by Olivia de Havilland, when she shows up at his home in Cornwall, he's surprised to find she's not at all what he'd been expecting, and falls in love with her himself. I had some complicated mixed feelings about the book, as you may remember if you saw the review. I liked it, and I enjoyed reading it, even though there were things about its content that, drove me a little crazy. I feel the same way about the movie. I liked it, even though certain developments in the story are of the sort that I find frustrating, namely characters making obvious bad choices against the sound advice of their friends and even against their own better judgment. This comes as no surprise. It's telling the same story as the book after all and focusing on the same characters, particularly the same impetuous main character, but with the movie's streamlined storytelling and a runtime far shorter than the amount of time required to read the novel, any annoyance I may have felt was fortunately abbreviated. It also helps that Richard Burton's version of Philip Ashley seems a shade more mature than du Maurier's, both in years and in conduct. He also seems a little more polished, a little less like the country bumpkin, which might just be a natural byproduct of having someone of Burton's fine classical elocution play the part. This is Burton in his first American lead role, by the way, for which he received a Best Supporting Actor nomination. Why not lead actor? Well, because Olivia de Havilland insisted on having sole top billing. For the part of Rachel, de Havilland is pretty much perfect. She plays the alluring, mature woman with her characteristic grace and calm. She's attractive and mysterious, authoritative yet astute, knowing when to let Philip feel like he's the one holding the reins. She's vastly more cultured than him. She's a woman of the world. His world is his country home with Ambrose and the tiny social circle of the surrounding neighborhood. I did learn afterward that this movie was originally intended as a comeback vehicle for Greta Garbo, who hadn't made a film since 1941's romantic comedy Two-Faced Woman. Now that I think about it, Garbo would have been a fine choice for Rachel as well. But I do think de Havilland's low musical voice and her ability to change her tone from warm to frigid in seconds is something particular she brings to the role. In My Cousin Rachel, I did detect certain noirish elements and influences. Heavy atmosphere, moodiness, cinematic shadows, impulsive characters, male-female power play, a beautiful woman possibly using physical attraction as a ploy, a broody and suspicious loner who behaves recklessly out of desire. I also can't help thinking of a couple other movies in comparison with this one, 1940's Rebecca and 1943's Jane Eyre. There are, of course, certain themes in common between the two du Maurier stories: jealousy, manipulation, possible murder. All three films are moody, gothic pieces with a retrospective first-person narrator and a dominating female character, either in the foreground or in the background, who exercises great power over the characters and fundamentally changes the course of the plot. And if you want to talk about coincidental casting, consider this. Olivia de Havilland, star of My Cousin Rachel, and Joan Fontaine, who starred in both Rebecca and Jane Eyre, were sisters. John Sutton, who played Dr. Rivers in Jane Eyre, plays Ambrose Ashley in My Cousin Rachel, and Richard Burton of My Cousin Rachel was twice married to Elizabeth Taylor, who played Helen in Jane Eyre. Okay, that last one's a bit of a stretch, but I was having too much fun connecting the dots. Anyway, I thought this was a good movie, and a good adaptation as well. There are some minor changes and omissions here and there, including a couple small adjustments to the climax, which left me confused as to whether they were trying to make the ending more or less vague. But all in all, du Maurier's story and characters are well preserved, and accompanied as they are by picturesque scenery, complimentary cinematography, and a fitting score by Franz Waxman, it makes for a good hour and a half of romantic mystery. I hope you enjoyed the review, and if you happen to have seen this adaptation, I'd love to know what you thought of it, whether you've read the book or not, so go ahead and share your thoughts below. Thanks for watching! Bye!